Hello, folks. I hope this works. I'm using my Chromebook. I've went in the squirrel room, a craft room, and read the whole chapter of 26 and could not get it. The 15-minute thing, It's on my last doggone nerve, so we're going to try it again in here with a Chromebook. But I still may stick to 15 minutes, then come back on. So it'll be in parts. Okay, it's called The Haunted House, Sleepy Ghost, A Box of Gold, Bitter Luck. About noon the next day, the boys arrived at the dead tree. They had come for their tools. Tom was impatient to go to the haunted house. Huck was measurably so also, but suddenly said, "Looky here, Tom, do you know what day it is?" And Tom mentally ran over the days of the week and then quickly lifted his eyes with a startled look in them. "My, I never thought of it once, Huck." "Well, I didn't either, but all at once it popped on to me that it was Friday. Blame it. A body can't be too careful, Huck. We might have got into an awful scrape tackling such a thing on a Friday." "Might. Better say would. There's some lucky days, maybe, but Friday ain't it. Any fool knows that. I don't reckon you was the first that found it out, Huck." "Well, I never said I was, did I? And Friday ain't all, neither. I had a rotten bad dream last night. Dreamt about rats." "No. Sure sign of trouble. Did they fight?" "No." "Well, that's good, Huck. When they don't fight, it's only a sign that there's trouble around. All we got to do is to look mighty sharp and keep out of it. We'll drop this thing for today and play. Do you know Robin Hood, Huck?" "No. Who's Robin Hood?" Let me get my wiping rag. Here you go. There it is. Sorry, it is dental glue. It's not spit. Who was Robin Hood? Why, he was one of the greatest men that ever lived, that was ever in England, and the best. He was a robber. Crikey. No, cracky. I wish I was. Who did he rob? Only sheriffs and bishops and rich people and kings and such like, but he never bothered the poor. He loved them. He always divided up with them perfectly square. Well, he must have been a brick, and a brick here is slang for a good and generous person. That's why I like these little notes here. I don't know about a brick. I bet you he was, Huck. Oh, he was the noblest man that ever was. They ain't any such men now, I can tell you. He could lick any man in England with one hand tied behind him, and he could take his yew bow and plug a 10-cent piece every time, a mile and a half. U-Y-E-W. Bow. It says Robin Hood's bow was made from the wood of the yew tree. It has a very elastic wood, it says. What's a yew bow? I don't know. Some kind of bow, of course. And if he hit that dime only on the edge, he would sit down and cry and curse. But we'll play Robin Hood. It's nobby fun, and nobby here means excellent, first rate. I'm agreed. So they played Robin Hood all afternoon, now and then casting a yearning eye down upon the haunted house, and passing a remark about the morrow's prospects and possibilities there. As the sun began to sink into the west, they took their way homeward, athwart the long shadows of the trees, and soon were buried from sight in the forest of Cardiff Hill. On Saturday, shortly after noon, the boys were at the dead tree again. They had a smoke and a chat in the shade, and then dug a little in their last hole. Not with great hope, but merely because Tom said there were so many cases where people had given up a treasure after getting down within 6 inches of it. And then somebody else had come along and turned it up with a single thrust of a shovel. The thing failed this time, however, so the boys shouldered their tools and went away, feeling that they had not trifled with fortune, but had fulfilled all the requirements that belonged to the business of treasure hunting. When they reached the haunted house, there was something so weird and grisly about the dead silence that reigned there under the baking sun, and something so sorry, I'm looking over this way, but what's over here? It's so big. Something so depressing about the loneliness and desolation of the place that they were afraid for a moment to venture in. Then they crept to the door and took a trembling peep. They saw a weed-grown floorless room unplastered, an ancient fireplace, vacant windows, a ruinous staircase, and here, there, and everywhere hung ragged and abandoned cobwebs. They presently entered softly, with quickened pulses, talking in whispers, ears alert to catch the slightest sound, and muscles tense and ready for instant retreat. In a little while, familiarity modified their fears, and they gave the place a critical and interested examination, rather admiring their own boldness and wondering at it too. Next, they wanted to look upstairs. This was something like cutting off retreat, but they got to daring each other, and of course, there could be but one result. They threw their tools into a corner and made the ascent. Up there were the same signs of decay. In one corner, they found a closet that promised mystery, but the promise was a fraud. There was nothing in it. Their courage was up now and well in hand. They were about to go down and begin work when, "Shh," said Tom. "What is it?" whispered Huck, blanching with fright. "Shh. There. Hear it?" "Yes. Oh, my, let's run." "Keep still. Don't you budge. They're coming right toward the door." The boys stretched themselves upon the floor with their eyes to knot-holes in the planking, lay waiting in misery of fear. They stopped. "No." Oh, that's him talking. They stopped. "No. Coming. Here they are. Don't whisper another word, Huck. My goodness, I wish I was out of this." Two men entered. Each boy said to himself, "There's the old deaf and dumb Spaniard that's been about town once or twice lately. Never saw t'other man before." T'other was a ragged, unkempt creature with nothing very pleasant in his face. The Spaniard was wrapped in a serape, which is a woolen blanket worn as a cloak or poncho. He had bushy white whiskers, long white hair flowed from under his sombrero, and he wore green goggles. When they came in, t'other was talking in a low voice. "Excuse me." They sat down on the ground, facing the door with their backs to the wall, and the speaker continued his remarks. His manner became less guarded and his words more distinct as he proceeded. "No," said he, "I've thought it over, and I don't like it. It's dangerous." "Dangerous," grunted the deaf and dumb Spaniard, to the vast surprise of the boys. "Milksop," and milksop means like a coward. This voice made the boys gasp and quake. It was Injun Joe's. There was silence for some time, and then Joe said, "What's any more dangerous than the job up yonder? But nothing's come of it. That's different. Away up the river so, and not another house about. 'Twon't ever be that we tried anyway, long as we didn't succeed. Well, what's more dangerous than coming here in the daytime? Anybody would suspicion us that saw us. I know that, but there wasn't any places handy after that fool of a job. I want to quit this shanty. I want it," and a shanty's just an old dilapidated house. "I wanted to yesterday, only it warn't any use trying to stir out of here with those infernal boys playing over there on the hill right in full view. Those infernal boys." quaked again under the inspiration of this remark, and thought how lucky it was that they had remembered it was Friday and concluded to wait a day. They wished in their hearts they had waited a year. The two men got out some food and made a luncheon. After a long and thoughtful silence, Injun Joe said, "Look here, lad, you go back up the river where you belong. Wait there till you hear from me. I'll take the chances on dropping into this town just once more for a look. We'll do that dangerous job after I've spied around a little and think things look well for it. Then for Texas, we'll leg it together." This was satisfactory. Both men presently fell to yawning, and Injun Joe said, "I'm dead for sleep. It's your turn to watch." He curled down in the weeds and soon began to snore. His comrades stirred him once or twice, and he became quiet. Presently the watcher began to nod his head. His head drooped lower and lower. Both men began to snore now. The boys drew a long, grateful breath, and Tom whispered, "Now's our chance. Come." Huck said, "I can't. I'd die if they was to wait." Tom urged. Huck held back. At last Tom rose slowly and softly and started alone, but the first step he made wrung such a hideous creak from that crazy floor that he sank down almost dead with fright. He never made a second attempt. The boys lay there counting the dragging moments till it seemed to them that time must be done and eternity growing gray, and then they were grateful to note that at last the sun was setting. Now one snore ceased. Injun Joe sat up, stared around, smiling grimly upon his comrade, whose head was drooping upon his knees, stirred him with his foot, and said, "Here, you're a watchman, ain't you? All right, though, nothing's happened. My, have I been asleep? Asleep? Oh, partly. Nearly time for us to be moving, pard. What'll we do with what little swag we've got left?" And swag here means their valuable loot, it says. Stolen money. So they've got some already. "I don't know. Leave it here as we've always done, I reckon. No use to take it away till we start south. 650 in silver, something to carry." "Well, all right. It won't matter to come here once more." "No, but I'd say come in the night as we used to do is better." "Yeah, but look here. It may be a good while before I get the right chance at that job. Accidents might happen. 'Tain't in such a very good place. We'll just regularly bury it, and bury it deep." "Good idea," said the comrade, who walked across the room. Have to stop in a minute. He knelt down, raised one of the rearward hearthstones, and that's a stone set in the floor of a fireplace and extending into the room to guard against setting the floor on fire. Took out a bag that jingled pleasantly. He subtracted from it $20 or $30 for himself and as much for Injun Joe, and passed the bag to the latter, who was on his knees in the corner now digging with his bowie knife. And a bowie knife, or bowie, is a heavy knife with a long single-edged blade, and it's named after James Bowie, or Bowie, who is believed to have invented it. The boys forgot all their fears, all their miseries in an instant. With gloating eyes, they watched every movement. Luck, the splendor of it was beyond all imagination. $600 was money enough to make a half a dozen boys rich. Here was treasure hunting under the happiest auspices. There would not be any bothersome uncertainty as to where to dig. They nudged each other every moment, eloquent nudges and easily understood, for they simply meant, "Oh, but ain't you glad now we're here?" Joe's knife struck upon something. "Hello," said he. "What is it?" said his comrade. "Half-rotten plank?" No, it's a box, I believe. Here, bear a hand and we'll see what it's here for. Never mind, I've broke a hole and I must stop there, but I'll be right back.